Shalom Aleichem. Tonight, I'd like to talk to you about what the Word says, the Torah, the Scripture says about the food laws. I've heard people tell me the laws were nailed to the cross. And concerning these food laws, well, we eat in the Spirit. Is that true? Have they been nailed to the cross? Are we just eating in the Spirit and eat whatever we want according to what they think the Word says? I will show you in this teaching and back up everything and say that nothing's been done away with. The Torah is the Torah, and the Torah is forever. The Torah is our instructions. It's our guide. It's our roadmap. When you're lost, the Torah will lead you back to Yehova. Staying on the wrong road will lead you further and further away from salvation. And who is salvation? It's our Mashiach, our King, Yeshua. Don't let the winding roads like a maze ensnare you or confuse you. The more ensnared we become with things of this world, the more difficult it'll be to get back on the right road to the kingdom. Like a puzzle, we have to take one piece of our life at a time to correctly put the pieces together, to truly see the picture. Take out the pieces that don't belong and put the righteous pieces together. What you will see is the glory of Yehova, the glory of the Torah, and the glory of the Torah that came in the flesh to dwell among us. Our King of Kings and Adonais of Adonais, Mashiach Yeshua. Let's begin. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing before you, O Yehova, my rock and my redeemer, says Psalms 19:14. Do not let this book of the Torah depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you guard to do according to all that is written in it. For then you shall make your way prosperous and act wisely. Joshua 1:8. All of the Torah. All of it. All that is written. Not some, not a little bit. We can't compartmentalize. We can't pick and choose what we want to fit our needs. The Torah is our instructions. If you love me, says Yehova, obey. Do you remember when Yeshua was led by the Ruach in the wilderness? And he had fasted for 40 days and 40 nights? Hostile wanted to test him. He said, if you're the son of Elohim, turn these stones into bread. And how did Yeshua respond? But he answered and said, it has been written, it has been written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of Yehova. This is in Matthew 4:4. And what was Yeshua quoting? He was quoting the Torah. He was quoting Deuteronomy 8:3. The Torah. You can also find it in Luke 4. For if you believe Mosheh, you would have believed me, since he wrote about me. But if you do not believe his writings, how shall you believe my words? John 5:46 and 47. See? Mosheh. If you believe Mosheh, Moshe is the one who walked with Yehova. Moshe is the one who went up to Mount Horeb. And I know most people say Mount Sinai, but it's Mount Horeb in Saudi Arabia. That's where the Yehovah's mountain is. He walked with him. He led our people out of Egypt into the land. He wrote the first 5 books, which is the Torah. For Moshe writes about the righteousness which is of the Torah. The man who does these shall live by them. Romans 10:5. Now Romans 10:5 is quoted from Leviticus 18:5, one of the books of the Torah. And ye shall be hated by all for my name's sake, but he who shall have endured to the end shall be saved. Matthew 10:22. And you can also see this in Matthew 24:13. And what have a lot of people heard? Once saved, always saved. No. That's not what the Word says. The Word says, those who endure to the end shall be saved. I want to talk about this football player, this well-known football player named Reggie White. He was a Baptist preacher. You know, he played for Philadelphia Eagles and Green Bay Packers. Well, he was an ordained Baptist minister. And when he retired from football, and just before he retired from football, actually, he was starting to read this. But not just this. He wanted to go back to the Hebrew, the original language, and understand this. He was studying anywhere from 8 to 12 hours a day under a teacher. He knew Hebrew. He was learning it. And he was getting revelation because he was praying and meditating. He used to do Christmas. He used to do Easter. And through his prayer and meditation and learning and having those eyes to see and those ears to hear, it opened him up to a whole new thing he had never seen before. It opened his eyes to the Father, the love of the Father, that, like the Father, wants us all to hear the truth. He started understanding the feast days and appointed times, such as Passover, Shavuot, what you would call Pentecost, Yom Teruah, Day of Trumpets, Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement, Sukkot. Now he passed years and years ago, but his family does not do Christmas. They do not do Easter. They had to have ears to hear and eyes to see as well. You got to understand, he grew up a Baptist. But through prayer, he learned this. And also what I want you to understand is that, remember when I said, and you shall be hated by all for my name's sake, but he who shall have endured to the end shall be saved. This man was going from church to church. He was invited because he was a celebrity, you know, a football player, a well-known football player. Anyway, he started getting invited as a speaker to these churches. Well, he wanted to share this message that he's been learning from the original language, the Hebrew, what the word actually said and the context of it. You know what happened? They said, don't come back anymore. They did not want him back anymore. Because he was preaching the truth. That's all he wanted to do is preach what the Father had shown him. And like I said, and you shall be hated by all for my name's sake. Now, Yehova is like a potter. Like the potter, and we are the clay. He wants to mold us in his image. He wants to mold us to be echad, one with him. One with Yeshua, like Yeshua is with the Father. Echad, one, in Jeremiah 18:6. We must but he cannot mold us if we don't want to be molded into his image. In order for that to happen, we must put the full armor of Yahweh, as it says in Ephesians 6. We have to put the full armor on. We have to really take this seriously and put the full armor on to get revelation in prayer, in meditation, in study more, and meditate more, and pray without ceasing. Even before the fall of man, we were instructed what was allowed to eat and not to eat. Were we not? In the Garden of Eden, Adam and Chava, Yehova allowed them to eat from all the trees except from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. What did they do? What did Chava and Adam do? They ate from the tree. First of all, they disobeyed the Father. He gave strict instructions. You can have all the trees. You can eat from all the trees. But from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, they disobeyed him. And in disobedience, what results if we disobey the Father? Death results. As says in Genesis 2:16 and 17. What you have to understand is our heart, our mind, our body, and soul. Our heart. We need to ask Yahweh to create in us A clean heart. We need to take the filth out. We need a clean heart. We need to clean it in Psalms 51:10. Our mind. Our thoughts are not Yahweh's thoughts. Lean not on your own understanding. He will make our paths straight in Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. When we start thinking we know everything, we know better, guess what? We don't. We get it wrong. Oh, we know. We don't need no help. Yes, we need help every single day. We're not to lean on our understanding. Yahweh knows what's best for us. Our thoughts are not his thoughts. But the more we study, the more we pray, the more we meditate and ask for revelation and truly want the revelation, not just ask to ask, but truly want it, he'll open it up to us. Clean our body. 1 Corinthians 6:19. The temple received from Yahweh. We're supposed to take care of this body. This body's just temporary. He gave it to us. We need to use it righteously. Our heart, our mind, our body. We need to think like he thinks. We need to trust in him. Because he knows what's right for us. He knows everything. He sees what we don't see. So we need to trust in him and know everything he says is truth and right. And what happens if the soul sins? It dies in Ezekiel 18:20. Endurance, like I said, it's endurance. It's once saved, always saved. Nowhere in Scripture says once saved, always saved. It's an endurance. This is a lifetime thing, all the way to the end. Those who endure to the end will be saved, like I said in Matthew 24:13. Leviticus 11 clearly tells us what we can and cannot eat. What's Isaiah say about pigs? Who sits among the burial sites and spends the night in secret places? Who eats flesh of pigs? And the broth of unclean meat is in their pots. Yeshayahu. Isaiah 65:4. Also, you see this in Isaiah 66, 16 and 17. The prophets know. The Torah are the instructions we are to live by. These instructions have not changed. Like I said, when someone says it's been nailed to the cross, I can tell you it hadn't. Because if it had been nailed to the cross, something's changed. And if something changed, guess what? Then all this is a lie. But again, we have to show ourselves approved and back it up in Scripture. What does Yahweh say? For I am Yahweh. I shall not change, and you, O sons of Jacob, shall not come to an end. Malachi 3:6. You also see this in Jacob, or James 1:17. Right there, ladies and gentlemen. He says he doesn't change. Now, John chapter 1:1 says what? Tells us what? The Word, the Torah, the first 5 books, became flesh. It tabernacled with us. Yeshua came. The walking, living, breathing Torah. Now, what I hear a lot of leaders say, well, it's been fulfilled. Fulfilled. Interesting. That's why we can say it's nailed to the cross, also it's been fulfilled. But what does it say in Hebrew? What does the Scriptures actually say in Hebrew? Do not think that I came to destroy the Torah of the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to uphold, establish, lekaim. See where that fulfill is? It doesn't say that. I did not come to destroy it, but to uphold, establish. Matthew 5:17. Your righteousness is righteousness forever, and your Torah is truth. Psalms 119, 142. So what? The righteousness is forever, so it hasn't been done away with. It hasn't been nailed to the cross. It's forever. See, truth defines the name and nature of the Ruach HaKodesh. Speaking truth defines the role and responsibility of the Ruach HaKodesh. When the Ruach speaks truth to you, the Ruach brings the glory. Now, if an individual tells you, we always adjust to Torah, but Torah never adjusts to us, yet teachers teach us something opposite, they're not adjusting to Torah, rather they're contradicting the true message. Yehova expects leaders to teach his people to distinguish between the set apart and profane. He says through the prophet Ezekiel, and they are to teach my people the difference between the set apart and the profane, and make them known what is unclean and clean. Now, I'm talking about the clean and unclean food. This talks about the clean and unclean food as well. Also, though, it talks about your thinking, your thoughts. You can't have an evil thought in your mind. That's unclean. That's profane. You cannot speak perverted, unclean. You cannot speak opposite of Torah. It's unclean. You cannot teach opposite of Torah. It's unclean. And see, as a teacher, we're to teach the differences of that. See, you can sin in your mind. And he knows it. Yehova knows if you sin in your mind. You don't have to say it. If you even think it, it's a sin. For example, you see a pretty woman go across the street. Oh, man. And you lust after that, you have just sinned in your mind. If you're thinking this, you have sinned. Okay? I'm talking about food, but this goes with other stuff as well, okay, clean and unclean. Teaching. You're teaching me secular. If your teaching is secular of the world, it's unclean. If it's the Torah and the Brit Hashah, the renewed, or the New Testament, what they call the New Testament, and you teach that, what Yeshua was teaching, because he's the walking, living, breathing Torah, and that's what he taught was the Torah. If you believe in Mosheh, you believe in me. Because Yeshua was there on the mountain. You see what I'm saying? His apostles, his disciples taught. He was teaching them this because he was going to be gone for a while. He was leaving. He had to prepare them and teach them. And they died for this. That's how important it is. But see, everlasting kingdom at the end. Those who endure to the end. Okay? Like I said, the heart, mind, body, soul, and endurance. Now, as far as the secular world is concerned, Yahweh's instructions have been done away. They want to pick and choose what to keep and not to keep in the Torah. They want to compartmentalize at their convenience. What suits them? You know, I hear people saying, I did this as well at times too, I don't do anymore. 10,000 different doctrines in this world. This denomination, this denomination, this denomination, this denomination, Judaism, whatever it may be, Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, whatever it may be. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Don't make it confusing. Like a maze, like I talked about earlier. It's simple. There's the word of Yehova and everything else. Yehova or everything else. The kingdom or secular. It's really that simple. Okay? Now, one area that the secular world has surely done away with is Yehva's instructions, is that of clean and unclean food. A common argument is that the clean and unclean laws were part of the old covenant, and that is obsolete. But did I not say in Malachi 3:6, he changes not. It's forever. So we know that's not true. It's not obsolete. Pastors especially like to quote Kepha's vision to fit their narrative. Many people read Acts 10 out of context. And what do we need to do? We need to read things in context. Not take a piece of scripture, oh, see. No, you have to read the context of what's being said. Okay? They read to a certain verse and then stop and say, see, I can eat my pork now. It's clean. I am free to enjoy eating pig as much as I want. Or lobster or shrimp or whatever it may be that's unclean. Catfish. But what they do not realize is that that kind of unrighteousness attitude and closed-mindedness will lead to a separation from the Creator and eventual destruction. We must love all truth, even if we are uncomfortable hearing it or changing our lifestyle and our unrighteous past eating habits. We must still love and embrace all truth. Like I said earlier, I love shrimp. I had a hard time quitting shrimp. But I had to make a choice. Either I follow the Father and His instructions, His Torah, and my King, Yeshua, on all the truth, or I'll have eternal separation. And I don't want eternal separation. Now, this vision that they read out of context is, what was the vision actually about? The vision was about people. Yahweh has cleansed for Himself a people. A people who are not a people are now known as the children of El Chai, living Elohim. This was the whole point of the vision, to prepare Kepha to go and deliver the good news of Mashiach Yeshua to the nations. And that's what we're to do. We're to sift Israel out of the nations. We're to sift the sheep. Bring the sheep back home. Like I said before, Yahweh never changes in Malachi 3:6. So when He says that pork was unclean and should not be eaten, that means it is still unclean today and should not be eaten ever. That applies to all things that Yahweh declared to be unclean to eat. Now what I find fascinating is that people who tell me that the Creator has now made everything clean to eat for food are very quick to squirm or sidestep my question when I ask them this. So, you believe the Creator changed His mind about pork when He commanded we are not to eat it in Deuteronomy 14:8, and that the Creator now allows pork to be eaten and everything has been made clean to eat? So would you eat snake meat if someone cooked it up and served it to you? Or maybe, how about this? Let's have some buzzard. How about vulture or monkey? Opossums? Raccoon? How about a rat? Skunk or a bat? I mean, you're saying everything's clean? It's been nailed to the cross? That's what you're saying? So why not? This is all clean? Now, what does Deuteronomy 14:8 say? Because I mentioned it earlier. And the pig is unclean for you, because it has a split hoof, but does not chew the cud. You do not eat their flesh or touch their dead carcasses. Like I said, Deuteronomy 14:8. Don't eat it. See, when it comes to the clean and unclean food, and I'm going to get to this later, it talks about split hoof and the chew of the cud. Yahweh gets very specific on what is clean and what is unclean. Very descriptive. Now, if they tell you they now eat in the Spirit, remember I said about Spirit, I was going to talk about this, ask them, where does the Spirit lead us? If they say the Spirit leads us to truth, okay. And that's what I've heard mostly. Well, the Spirit leads us to truth. Okay. So, what is truth? Ask this question, what is truth? But when He comes, the Spirit of the truth, He shall guide you into all truth. For He shall not speak from Himself, but whatever He hears, He shall speak, and He shall announce to you what is to come. Yohanan, or John 16:13. You can also find it in 1 John 5:6. See? He shall guide you into all truth. Not just some of it. Not compartmentalize. Not pick and choose what you want. All truth. See, this is our Constitution. This is our roadmap. This is what we go by. And we have to live it, breathe it, day and night without ceasing. Your righteousness is righteousness forever, and your Torah is truth. What is truth? Your Torah is truth in Psalms 119, 142. For I am Yahweh, I shall not change not. Change not. He doesn't change, like I said in Malachi. Now this Malachi where he says he shall not change. You can also find this in Bimidar or Numbers 23:19, James 1:17, and Hebrews 13:8. See, it's repeating. He doesn't want us to forget, okay? That's why you do cross references. Because he's quoting. It's being quoted. You know, in James and Hebrews, it's being quoted from Malachi. And like I said before, he came to uphold and establish. He sure came to uphold and establish the Torah. He didn't get rid of it. Now, many pastors will tell its congregation that we can eat things like pork, shrimp, lobster, crab, and so on, based on Genesis 6:19 through 21. Now, when you look at verse 21, as for you, take of all food that is eaten, and gather it to yourself, and it shall be food for you and for them. See, a pastor's going to jump on it. Oh, see, take all food and gather for yourself, and it shall be food for you. He'll try to see who can eat all the food. We can eat it. All of it's clean. If you just look at the verse alone, 2 by 2, we're talking, when Noah's flood, the flood was coming, and Noah, and he took them 2 by 2. Yeah, it does say 2 by 2. You're right. One could think we could eat pork, shrimp, lobster, and crab, and all the other unclean animals. However, because the pastors have chosen to stay blind to the word, they are sent a delusion, as it says in Thessalonians 2, 9, 11. Now, watch this. Let's go to Genesis 7, 2. Of all the clean beasts, take with you 7 pairs, a male and his female, and of the beasts that are unclean, 2, a male and his female. Genesis 7, 2. Do you see what I'm saying? See, they just want to pretty much stay at 2 by 2. You got to read the whole thing in context, what's being said. You got to understand, some of these clean animals, they're going to be burnt offerings, as well as food. If he says in Leviticus, don't eat unclean food, you don't eat unclean food. Here in Noah, a flood's coming, and all the clean beasts take with you 7 pairs. There's a reason why you're taking clean animals as well. Okay, burnt offerings and eating. They had to eat. See, Yehova will show us truth if we're willing to receive it. If we choose not to have eyes to see and ears to hear, he'll keep us blind and sin, like I said, sin and delusion. For example, Christmas and Easter. And I've already done one on Christmas. I will do one on Easter down the road, and I'll do the history of it just like I did the history of Christmas. See, the coming of lawless one is according to the working of Satan, Hasatan, with all power and signs and wonders of falsehood, and with all deceit of unrighteousness in those perishing because they did not receive the love of the truth in order for them to be saved. And for this reason, Elohim sends them a working of delusion, for them to believe the falsehood. 2 Thessalonians 2, 9 through 11. You also see this in John 9:39, John 12:40, Acts 7:42, Romans 1:24 to 28. Quoting 2 Thessalonians. You see what I'm saying? If you're not willing to hear and see, okay, I'm not going to force it on you. I love you, but I'm not going to force it. If you want to believe the lie, I'll send you delusion. I will send you delusion. See what you want to see in this. My people will have their eyes open, and they will want to learn more and more and more. Like I said, the Spirit will lead us to all truth, and the truth is the Torah in Psalms 119, 1 and 42. Now, when one states that he does not eat pork, shellfish, or any of the other foods listed as unclean in Leviticus 11, 1 through 23, and Deuteronomy 14, 3 through 21, he is immediately labeled as Jewish. Jewish? Really? Nowhere in the Word says it's Jewish. How do I know that? What does it say? What did Yehova do on the seventh day? I made Sabbath for man, not man for Sabbath. Not Jews, for man, mankind. But see, the secular world thinks, well, if I'm following the Torah, I'm doing Torah and and all these other things, the feast and all, oh, are you Jewish? That's the first thing that I have been approached with. Oh, are you Jewish? No, I'm trying to be the follower of the Father. Yes, there are 12 tribes. You know, it talks about in Numbers 15, the sojourner, the foreigner that joins with you, they're engrafted in. Israel, we're a part of Israel. Right? Yahweh's Torah is applicable to all of mankind in Psalms 94:12, Ezekiel 18:5, 9, Mark 2:27, Romans 2:12 through 16. And it is absolutely vital for everyone to keep it, to grow in righteousness. However, right, it's applicable to all mankind, and it's absolutely vital for everyone to keep it and grow in righteousness in Deuteronomy 6:25, Psalms 119, 172. Now, in Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy 14, we find lists of clean and unclean animals. The first listing was given for the benefit of the generation that had escaped from Egypt in slavery. The second listing in Deuteronomy, Yahweh re-emphasized this instruction for the next generation as it was about to claim its new territory in the Promised Land. The two chapters give the same reason for Yahweh's instruction on clean and unclean meats. In Leviticus 11, Yahweh says that to be kadosh, one must avoid the unclean. Kadosh, holy. In Deuteronomy 14, Israel was told not to eat any detestable thing. Deuteronomy 14:3. For you are a kadosh, holy people, to the Yehova your Elohim. Deuteronomy 14:2 through 21. To be kadosh means to be set apart by Yehova. Set apart. You're not of this world. You're set apart from this world. You're one is echad with the Father. You're not of this world. Because if you're of this world, the world will love you. But because you're not of this world and you're following this, the world hates you. The specific purpose Yahweh gave for avoiding unclean meats is kadoshness. Yahweh wants us to be holy. Since we belong to Him and He purchased us with Yeshua's blood, He does not want us to contaminate ourselves through any kind of physical or spiritual defilement. 1 Corinthians 6:15 through 20. He doesn't want to contaminate ourselves. You understand? He doesn't want us to be unclean. Mind, body, soul, spirit. We have to be completely cleansed. Completely cleansed. In Yehovah's sight, refraining from eating unclean animals is an identifying sign of the kadoshness of those Yehovah set apart through a relationship with Him. Remember I told you earlier, He's like the potter and we're the clay. He wants to mold us into His image. He wants us to be echad with Him, one. People often think there were only 2 of each animal on the ark because Yahweh told Noah that 2 of every kind of land animal would come to him, right? Remember I said that earlier, 6:20, Genesis 6:20. Of course. Now, there are either pastors or teachers that are either ignorant or purposely deceiving the congregation in order to fit their indoctrination or agenda of the secular doctrine that they're choosing to do. Because it's not a Torah if they're teaching that. They either slide over Genesis 7:2 or manipulate it in a way in an attempt to convince the congregation of Kepha or Peter's vision that all food is clean to eat. Remember, like I said earlier in Genesis 7:2, of all the clean beasts, take with you 7 pairs, a male and his female, and of the beasts that are unclean too, a male and his female. Okay? Now, as regards to the 7 pairs in Genesis 8:20, after the flood subsides, Noah offers to Yahweh an ascending offering of some of the clean animals. Burnt offering. Remember I said, some of these are for offerings, burnt offerings, okay? Then Noah built an altar to Yahweh, and choosing from every clean animal and every clean bird, he offered burnt offerings on the altar. By having taken 7 pairs of the clean animals and clean birds on the ark, Noah is able to offer an ascending offering to Yahweh of those clean animals, while still allowing those species to repopulate the earth. And Noah built a slaughter place to Yahweh, and took of every clean beast and every clean bird, and offered ascending offerings on the slaughter place. Genesis 8:20. Can't do it with unclean animals. Yahweh won't accept it. It has to be clean animals, and the ones he says that he chooses for the burnt offerings. Now, those who honor Yahweh should reflect kadoshness, holiness, in their thoughts and actions. Your thoughts and your actions. You have to back up. You know, you can tell someone, I love you, all you want. Yeah, I love you, I love you. That's your thoughts? I love you. But, more importantly, if you don't show it in your actions, it's meaningless. You can say you love Yahweh all you want. You can say King Yeshua is my Messiah all you want. But if you don't show it, it's nothing. Thoughts and actions. Yahweh requires kadosh conduct, a way of life distinctly different from that of the rest of the world, the secular world. Holiness in conduct is based in attitudes toward Yahweh, others, and self that result in actions that avoid causing pain and build lasting, beneficial relationships. Of course, being holy means much more than merely avoiding unclean meats. Yeshua spoke of the weightier matters of the law, the Torah, the instructions, such as judgment, mercy, and faith, in Matthew 23:23. Yahweh gave his instructions, and that's what Torah means. Like I said earlier, Torah means instructions, to physical people who suffer the consequences when they do not follow those instructions. Breaking his Torah against adultery, for example, can destroy a marriage and family. Deuteronomy 28 records numerous calamities that befell the Israelites when they failed to obey the instructions of Yahweh. But he said he would establish them as a kadosh people, a holy people, if they would keep his commandments. Deuteronomy 28:9. Yahweh says, if you love me, keep my commandments. Yahweh's continuing desire for his people to be kadosh has remained constant. As Shaul said, he chose us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be kadosh and without blame before him in love. Ephesians 1:4. Now, By eating only clean food, we promote a correct image of Yahweh to the world and become a light shining in the darkness for all to see from the darkness. The light shining. See, we promote a correct image. Like I said, he wants to mold us in his image. Your word is a lamp unto my feet and a light to my path. I have sworn and I confirm to guard, shamar, observe. That's what guard means. Hebrew word is shamar, which means observe. Your righteous right rulings. Psalms 119, 105, 106. Let your light so shine before men so that they see your good works and praise your Father who is in the heavens. Matthew 5:16. It takes work, people. It takes work to pray, to meditate, to study. It takes work every day to do this because the Yisra'Ãl, the dark forces, are coming at us constantly, and they're not going to stop until the Messiah comes back. That's why we have to endure to the end, because the enemy is trying to take us off that road, off that path to righteousness. Now, Yahweh spoke to Aaron saying, Yahweh spoke to Aaron saying, do not drink wine or intoxicating drink, you nor your sons with you, when you go into the tabernacle of meeting, lest you die. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations, that you may distinguish between holy and unholy, and between unclean, tamei, and clean, tahor, and that you may teach the sons of Israel all the statutes which Yahweh has spoken to them by the hand of Mosheh. Now, I'm going to do a teaching on this drinking wine, because what you'll hear many leaders say to the congregation, do not drink wine or intoxicating drink. I mean, we'll stop there. Oh, see, we can't drink any wine, no liquor. You see, now I know at this point, like I said, many pastors will question that and say, see, you can't drink any alcoholic beverages. Well, the scriptures say otherwise. However, do you know Yahweh doesn't want us to get drunk and lose our sense of inhibitions. That's true. He doesn't want us to get drunk, belligerently drunk, and not have our senses with us, but there's nothing wrong with drinking wine. Yeshua drank wine. His disciples drank wine. Now, Yeshua didn't drink what people call the Last Supper, or just for he didn't drink that. He won't drink that till he comes back. Now, here's what it says in Timothy 5:23. No longer drink only water, but use a little wine for your stomach's sake and your frequent ailments. This, like I said, Timothy 5:23. We can drink wine. Likewise, attendants are to be reverent, not double-tongued, not given too much wine, not greedy for filthy gain, holding to the secret of the faith with a clean conscience. 1 Timothy 3:8-9. So yeah, not drinking too much wine. Don't go crazy, get drunk. Yeah, we can drink. Anyway, let's get back to what we're talking about, shall we? The priests were to teach Israel and the Ger, the strangers that dwell with them, how to separate themselves from their uncleanliness and to become kadosh, holy, as Yahweh is kadosh. And understanding the difference between clean foods and unclean foods is essential to their eternal survival. There's one Torah for the native born and for the stranger who sojourns among you. Exodus 12:49. See, not just the Jews or the other tribe members, tribe of Benjamin, Levi, and so on, but for the stranger, the foreigner who comes in, who are engrafted in, who want to pick up this book and understand the word. Okay? Israel Now, I just read from Exodus 12:49. You can also find this in Leviticus 24:22 and Numbers 15:16. How can one eat unclean foods and say they love Yahweh when Yahweh says, if you love me, keep my commandments? You do not bow down to them nor serve them, for I, Yahweh, your Elohim, am a jealous El, visiting the crookedness of the fathers on the children, to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing loving commitment to thousands of those who love me and shamar, observe my commands. Exodus 20:5-6. If you love me, you shall guard, shamar, observe my commands. John 14:15. You also can find this in 1 John 5:2-3 and 3 John 1:6. Okay? If you love me. See, that's a big word, isn't it? If. If you love me. And by the way, we all fall short of the glory. So that word if you love me. Do you really love me? Are you really trying your best to follow me? Really? If you love me. Well, if you love me, observe my commands, my Torah. Now, Yehuda, not the one from Korioth, said to him, Master, what has come about that you are about to manifest yourself to us and not to the world? Yeshua answered him, if anyone loves me, he shall guard, observe my word, and my Father shall love him, and we shall come to him and make our stay with him. He who does not love me does not guard or observe, shamar, my words, and the word which you hear is not mine, but of the Father, the Torah, who sent me. In John 14:22-24. Remember I told you in John 1, the Word became flesh, the Torah became flesh and tabernacled with us. Now, understanding these clean foods. Then Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, again, you shall say to Israel, whoever of Israel or of the strangers, the Gerim, who dwell in Israel, you shall therefore distinguish between clean, ta'or, animals, and unclean, tameh, between unclean birds and clean, and you shall not make yourselves abominable by beast or by bird, or by any kind of living thing that creeps on the ground, which I have separated from you as unclean. And you shall be holy to me, kadosh. For I, Yahweh, am kadosh, I am holy, and have separated you from the peoples, that you should be mine. Leviticus 20:1-2 and 25-26. He has separated us from the world. We're his children. Okay? We're to follow his ways, not the world's ways, with all their compartmentalizing and picking and choosing what they want to keep and not keep. Thus you shall separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, lest they die in their uncleanness when they defile my dwelling place, which is in their midst. Leviticus 15:31. This is life and death, blessings and curses. What's he say? It's blessings and curses. Choose life. The book of Leviticus contains the essential teachings as to how each of Israel is to live and maintain the unity of its covenant relationship with Yahweh. In it we learn about the offerings and slaughters that cover our offenses, while at the same time it draws our hearts, thoughts, emotions toward Yahweh and his eternal unchanging ways. Remember, he doesn't change. Every instance where unity is called concerning us is referring to man's relationship with Yeshua, not with other men. We have to be echad with Yehovah. We have to be echad with Yeshua. Yeah, community, like I said before, community is important. But to get true unity, it's between you and the Father. That's what makes a strong community. If each and every one of us can strive to have unity and echad and oneness and like-mindedness with the Father, and our King is Messiah Yeshua, the Son of Man, the Son of Yehova, then we're going to get the unity. See, what did Yeshua say? I and my Father are one. Echad in John 10:30. Oh, by the way, he's quoting Deuteronomy 6:4. It's Torah. It's one of the 5 books in Torah. That's Torah. He's also quoting John 17:11 and John 17:21 through 23. Now, like I said, there are 2 doctrines in this world. The Torah and everything else. How can there be unity when people are pulled in every direction? When you have tens of thousands of doctrines, as they say, out there. No wonder people get sick of all of it and leave. Because here's the enemy twisting you, pulling you this way, pulling you this way. Oh, heck with it, I had enough. You know? That's why people leave. Now, it is also in the book of Leviticus that we learn to make many distinctions between that which is clean, ta'or, and that which is unclean, tameh, concerning food and many other things. Let me give you a little taste of what I'm talking about. Like I said, me and a friend of mine were invited to this church. We were sitting in a restaurant, Mexican restaurant, eating one day, and a gentleman from across the restaurant saw what we were wearing. I usually wear my hat where it says the name of the Father and my Star David, and my friend wears the name of the Father and some other stuff, okay? Well, you know, we start to get talking, and he says, hey, I'd like you to invite you to my church, and he preaches over there. So I said, oh yeah, no problem. We're going to go. We'll go. You know, hear worship music and listen to what the message has to say, what they're sharing. And so we listened to the worship service and you know, and the message and all that, and we start talking. Some people come to us because, well, me and my friend were wearing our servant cap and we're wearing our prayer shawls. Well, naturally, people are curious. Yeah, they'll say, you know, you're Jewish and all. Well, I'm Israel. And we talk about some different things and different things that we talk about. And it came to where we talked about food, what we ate and what we don't eat. Well, they started listening to us. 2 or 3 people actually started coming listening to us really heavily and started asking questions about this. Well, their pastor is overhearing all this. Well, he starts coming over and he gets into this conversation, you know. And he says, well, we eat in the Spirit because the food laws were no longer necessary. And he, like I said earlier, a lot of pastors will use Kepha's vision, you know, of Acts 10:14 through 16 to support their theology, by the way. You know. Anyway, like I said earlier, they take Acts 10 out of context and boom, boom, boom. There it is, right there, see? That's it. And that's not the way it is. It was about people, the cleansing of people. And I told them that, and like I said. And I read to them, you know, I talked to them about the raccoons, vultures, da-da-da-da. Well, those are unclean. We don't eat those, you know. But we eat in the Spirit because it's been nailed to the cross and all that. And I quoted Deuteronomy 14:8 where it says, and the pig is unclean for you because it has a split hoof, but does not chew the cud. You do not eat their flesh or touch their dead carcass. I read it. He basically passed over that. You know, like I said, it's about people. And I talked to him about, okay, like I said earlier, what's the Spirit? And he said, the Spirit's truth. Where does the Spirit lead you? It leads you to truth, and he would say that. So what is truth? Well, Jesus is truth. This is truth. Okay. Okay. So it'll lead you to truth, right? It'll lead you to all truth, correct? So you say the law's been done away with, but yet you pick and choose what you want to use. So what does it say? And I asked him, what's it say in Psalms 119, 142? And he didn't have the scripture with it, so I read it to him. Your righteousness is righteousness forever, and your Torah is truth. And I read Malachi 3:6, and I asked him, does the Father change? He says, no. No. Well, if he doesn't change like it says in Malachi 3:6, how can you say that these food laws were done away with? And basically, he didn't want to talk anymore about it. See, ladies and gentlemen, here's the thing. Just ask questions. And the Word will lead you to it. If you ask the right questions, the Word will lead you to it. Like I said, what's the Spirit? The Spirit is truth. Well, what's the Spirit do? Well, it guides you to truth. And I got scripture for that, you know. And the Torah is truth. And like I said in Psalms 119, just ask questions. And back it up with scripture. Because if they say it's been done away with, especially when he says, when the pastor says, well, we eat in the Spirit. Go 1, 2, 3, just follow along, simple. See, like I said, we can rationalize or better yet make excuses the things we do in life. Ultimately, it comes down to following the Torah or following the world. It's that simple, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Ta'or and Tameh represents two realms or state of beings before the Creator. The first realm is things that belong to the realm of Ta'or or clean are indeed useful in presenting and promoting the image of Yahweh in the earth. The second realm, the things that Torah teaches which belong to the realm of Tameh, unclean, are not acceptable for promoting the image of Yahweh in the earth. See, we're not going to be in the image of Yahweh if we eat unclean foods. If we disobey His food laws, if we disobey anything in the Torah, we're not in His image. We're not fully in His image at all. When we start following the Torah and really listening, not what we want to hear, but what He needs to tell us, then you'll see over time we'll be in His image. We'll shine. We'll show that through. He'll show that. He'll come through us and show us that. By learning to make these distinctions, we determine our orientation toward Yahweh and our eternal destiny. But if a wicked man turns from all his sins which he has committed, keeps all my statutes, and does what is lawful and right, he shall surely live, and he shall not die. Ezekiel 18:21. Are there consequences for being disobedient? Like I said, yes. And there's blessings for being obedient. Has all the answers right here. Okay? So what are the consequences for being disobedient? And it shall be when all these words come upon you, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before you, and you shall bring them back to your heart among all the nations where Yahweh your Elohim drives you, and shall turn back to Yahweh your Elohim and obey His voice according to all that I command you today, with all your heart and with all your being, you and your children. Deuteronomy 30, 1 and 2. See, there's blessings and curses, life and death. I have called the heaven and the earth as witnesses today against you. I have set before you life and death, the blessings and the curse. Therefore you shall choose life, so that you live, both you and your seed. Deuteronomy 30, 19. See? Blessings and curses, life and death. The worst thing that can ever happen to us is eternal separation from the Father. Plain and simple. And the only way you get to the Father is through Yeshua. Because He's the living, walking, breathing Torah. He's our King. Now, let's talk about pork. Pork is the most consumed meat in the world and is a source of foodborne diseases. It's a scavenger. No matter how you think about pigs, are filthy animals. They are considered the garbage and waste eliminators of the farm, often eating literally anything they can find. Bugs, insects, whatever leftover scraps they find laying around, their own feces, feces, dead carcasses of sick animals, including their own young. So you want to eat pork. That's your choice. Well, you know, we cook it thoroughly through and, it's not raw, it's thoroughly cooked. Here's the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said before, you can rationalize all you want. The Father says don't eat it. Period. Even if you don't understand the filth of it, if you never heard it, bottom line, he says don't eat it. See, he knows what's best for us. Swine flu. Swine influenza virus infections in humans are now being called variant virus infections in humans. Now, I wonder why the authorities removed the word swine. Was it scaring people away from eating pork? Was it? According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, H1N1 and H3N2 are swine flu viruses that are endemic or local or regional among pig populations in the United States, and something that the industry deals with routinely. See, they changed the name to H1N1. They don't call it swine flu anymore. You gotta understand, when this came out a long time ago, the swine flu, and they called it that, the markets took a hit. The grocery, the produce, the farmers, grocery stores, they took a big hit. People said, whoa, we don't want to take our chance. Hey, wait a minute. We don't want to take a chance on that. We might get sick, even die. So, these geniuses, the Centers for Disease Control, hey, let's call it H1N1. Let's not call it swine flu. We'll call it H1N1. Now, outbreaks occur, or outbreaks can occur year-round. H1N1 has been observed in pig populations since at least 1930. When? 1930. When did you first hear about swine flu, really, on a global level? In the 90s. While H3N2 began in the United States around 1998. Since 1930, ladies and gentlemen, the CDC will tell you swine flu isn't transmissible if you cook it thoroughly, like I said earlier. This supposedly kills the virus and other pathogens. You want to gamble with your health? I certainly wouldn't want to roll the dice and find out. But for argument's sake, let's say it's not transmissible if you cook it thoroughly. Just for argument's sake. Here's the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, Leviticus 11. The food instructions in the Torah. Don't eat it. It's unclean to you. I said don't eat it. You're disobeying me if you eat it. It's that simple, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, something that is rarely made known to the congregation is Yisra'Ãl commands us not to eat the fat of a clean animal. This is true. Let me read it to you. An everlasting law throughout your generations, in all your dwellings, you do not eat any fat or any blood. Leviticus 3:17. Yeah, that's true. We're not to eat the blood or fat of an animal. That's true. But I will show you later, there's other ways of getting fat into your food. Because that fat has flavor in it. But see, when the Father says don't eat it. Don't eat the fat of the animal. Or the blood. Or any blood. He says don't do it. Okay? Why? Let's see here. Shall we? Loaded with artery-clogging cholesterol and saturated fat increases your chances of developing heart disease. Wow, what's a big killer in the world today? Especially in the United States. Heart disease, clogging the arteries. Scientists now realize that a direct cause and effect relationship exists between excess consumption of fat and heart disease. Over 53% of people in large industrialized countries die of heart disease, over half of the population. Heart disease is most commonly caused by fat deposits that build up in the arteries, often beginning in the teenage years. This comes from Reginald Cherry, MD, The Bible Cure, 1998, page 34. And what did I say earlier? Lean not, what does the word say earlier? Lean not on your own understanding. We're not going to get it if we lean on our own thoughts. The Father already knew all this, and He's telling us, don't eat it. He already knows. He knows what's best. Sometimes we don't have to understand it right away. What we have to do, or the specifics of it, what we need to do is trust in Him. He has all the answers. He wants us to mold us in His image. Like I said, He's the potter, like the potter, we're the clay. He wants to mold us in His image. We need to listen to Him. And like I said earlier, we all fall short of the glory, but we need to make an honest and true effort to get closer and closer to Yehova each and every day. Now, toxins also tend to concentrate in an animal's fat. While most of the fat is lean, range fattened, clean animals is isolated from the meat and easily trimmed away. The toxins in pork are held especially in the fat, which is not isolated from the meat, as can be the case in lean beef, but rather it is dispersed throughout the meat. This is in Colbert, page 50. Multiple sclerosis. The link between pork and MS has been known at least since the 1980s. 1980s, ladies and gentlemen, when researchers analyzed the relationship between per capita pork consumption and MS across dozens of countries. Wow. Heart disease, now we have multiple sclerosis. Shall I go on? There's more. Liver cancer and cirrhosis. For decades, not for years by the way, for decades, pork consumption has faithfully echoed liver cancer and cirrhosis rates around the world. In 1985, a 1985 analysis showed that pork intake correlated with hepatocellular carcinoma deaths as strongly as alcohol did. Considering live liver cirrhosis is often a prelude to cancer, this connection shouldn't be surprising. Now, when you hear cirrhosis of the liver, normally it's from an alcohol. You normally hear, well, he's drinking himself to death and he's going to have cirrhosis of the liver, or a good chance of it. But also, you see here, cirrhosis of the liver from pork consumption. Pigs' digestive systems metabolize food very quickly in one stomach. The process only takes roughly 4 hours. Compare this with a cow, which takes 24 hours to digest the food it has eaten. This longer time period further allows excess toxins to be removed during the digestive process. Toxins are not allotted the time needed to be removed from a pig's digestive tract. As a result, the harmful toxins are accumulated in fat cells in the pig's organs. Now, like I say again, for argument's sake, let's say it does digest it like a cow and takes that time and takes out those things. Bottom line is, he says, don't eat it. Even if you don't know this information that I'm sharing here, the detailed information of it, bottom line is, he said, don't eat it. Another detoxification strategy pigs lack is the ability to sweat. Pigs do not have sweat glands and were not intended to perspire. This lacking detoxification method compounds the buildup of pathogenic microorganisms and environmental toxins into their systems and the bodies of people who eat pig products. Now, Yisra'Ãl says, excuse me. Now, Yisra'Ãl says we can't eat meat. We can't eat fat from the meat or the blood. True, we can't. We can't eat the. We are really to cut the fat off the meat. But my goodness, what some might say, that's the flavor in it. That fat, oh man, it gives it that flavor. Okay? He said, don't eat it. If you love me, obey my commandments. Now, can we have any fat in our diet? Can we get fat in our diet? Sure you can. That's why he's doing it. Without being disobedient. And like I said, let me read Leviticus 3:17 again. An everlasting law throughout your generations and all your dwellings. You do not eat any fat or any blood. Leviticus 3:17. Flat out. There it is. Okay? Well, yeah, we can get fat in this. Now watch. The answer is yes. The scripture clearly tells us we're not to have fat from the animal. We're to cut the fat from the meat and the animal. However, there is other ways to get fat that is nutritious for our body according to Yisra'Ãl. See, Yisra'Ãl has thought this all out already before he even shaped this world. Yisra'Ãl supplied his people with this in abundance, in that he placed them in a land of olive oil. Also unsaturated plant-based fat. Let me read this. Deuteronomy 8:8. A land of wheat and barley, of vine and fig trees, and pomegranates, a land of olive oil and honey. Deuteronomy 8:8. Are the fats in dairy products healthy for us? Butter, in moderation, is a great source of fat. Recent studies reported by Dr. Matthew Gilman of Harvard Medical School confirmed that heart patients who ate margarine had twice as many heart attacks as those who ate butter. Russell, page 68. We're not supposed to eat margarine. That's fake. There's toxins. There's bad stuff in margarine. We're to eat butter in moderation, real butter. Cheese is high in protein and loaded with calcium, but contains a lot of fat. It can be safely consumed in moderation. In moderation. Don't go crazy and in moderation. Now, Yisra'Ãl specifically tells us not to eat unclean animals. It's a command, period. No question. Don't question it. Period. Can't eat it. Some people have told me that the food laws have been, like I said, been done away with, and they now can eat anything they want, you know. Like I said, they eat in the Spirit. Well, like I said, I'll ask them what the Spirit leads us to, and so on, like I said earlier. And remember what I said early on in this teaching. Being truth defines the name and the nature of the Ruach HaKodesh. Speaking truth defines the role and responsibility of the Ruach HaKodesh. When the Ruach speaks truth to you, the Ruach brings glory to Yeshua, okay? If you've ever convinced yourself that Yisra'Ãl doesn't want to speak to you, then remember the words of John 16. According to Yeshua, every time the Ruach HaKodesh speaks to you, he's bringing glory to Yeshua. When you sit down to read the truth of Scripture, invite the Ruach to speak to you and to guide you. Now, I talked about some of these unclean animals. You know, talked about shrimp, lobster, you know, pigs. I told you what diseases you can get from pork. Now, what is clean according to Yisra'Ãl? What are the characteristics? How do we know it's going to be clean? Well, he gives a very detailed description what's clean and unclean, and I'm going to go through those. So please don't assume all animals are unclean. They're not. The good news is Yisra'Ãl provided us animals we can consume from the land. However, there are certain characteristics that they must have. Clean animals are distinguished by two characteristics. One, a cloven hoof. And what's a cloven hoof? A hoof split into two parts and multiple stomachs. It must chew its own cud. These two characteristics. Now, of the clean animals that walk on the earth, Yahweh said, and every beast that has a split hoof divided in two, chewing the cud among the beasts, you do eat. Deuteronomy 14:6. And what was the first characteristic that clean animals must have if they are meant for food? Cloven hoof. Or put another way, a hoof split into two parts. And they must chew their cud. Animals that chew their cud are called ruminant animals. They chew the cud, regurgitate it from their rumen, or their stomach, sometimes called their first stomach. Ladies and gentlemen, it's all in the details. Yahweh is very detailed when it comes to what we consume in our bodies. Why does he go to such great lengths to provide us this information? Plain and simple, he loves us and only has our best interest in heart. However, we need to show him that we love him by following these dietary laws in Leviticus 11 and Deuteronomy 14. Now, at a glance, most people will be able to see if an animal has a split hoof and immediately think that a particular animal can be eaten. However, it goes deeper than just that. One must not only notice the split hoof, but also be aware he must chew the cud. If you don't have a clue to what chewing the cud means, you could be easily fooled into thinking this animal is healthy for consumption. So you have to gain knowledge on this. The soft food is called the cud, small balls of food. The rumen, or muscles, the stomach muscles, send the cud back up to the animal's mouth, where it is re-chewed and swallowed again, this time going to the omasum section of the stomach in order to squeeze out all the moisture. These animals clearly have these two characteristics. Now, I want to read you some of the animals. I'm not going to go through every animal that you can eat, because the list is pretty good, actually. It's pretty, and there's a lot there. But I'm not going to go through that, but it's even longer for unclean animals, what you can eat. But let me go through some of the clean animals that have these two characteristics. The antelope, the buffalo, the moose, deer, elk, the giraffe. What? We can eat giraffe? No, you can't. They're on the endangered species list. They're protected, okay? But yeah, they are clean animals. The goat, the sheep, and the lamb, just to name a few. Now, the key is the animals must have split hoof and chew the cud. Like I said, if you don't know, one may look like it's a clean animal when it actually isn't, because first of all, they have to have these two characteristics. A camel, because it chews the cud but does not have a split hoof, it's unclean to you. So you can't eat a camel, but it chews the cud but doesn't have a split hoof. Rabbit, because it chews the cud but does not have a split hoof, it's unclean to you. Hare, because it chews the cud but does not have a split hoof, that's unclean to you as well. Pig has a split hoof, completely divided. See, I can eat pig, has a split hoof. But wait a minute. It does not chew the cud. That's unclean to you. The horse has a hoof. But wait, it's not split. It is solid all the way around. That's unclean to you. It gives you specifics. Now, I talked about the land animals. How about fish? How about fish? You know, like the person told me, we eat in the spirit. We can eat anything. Law's been done away with. It's been nailed to the cross. So we eat in the spirit. Wow, you eat catfish, huh? Fish have characteristics as well. Two characteristics as well. Shall we look and see what they are? So what kind of fish can we eat? According to Yahweh, of all things that come from the waters, only those which have fins and scales are considered as ta'or. unclean. What are the two characteristics? Fins and scales. What we say with the land animals? Split hoof and choose the cut. Two characteristics. Two characteristics in the land animals, two characteristics in the fish. Yisra'Ãl says that the things we eat which come from the waters must have fins and scales. It must have it. Knowing Yisra'Ãl and becoming kadosh as he is kadosh is a lifetime process. Those who endure to the end shall be saved. It's a lifetime. Every day, morning, night, every week, every month, every day until the end. Just as we seek to learn and do his ways, we must also understand and mirror his character. Like I said, I've said it many times already. He's like the potter, we're the clay. He wants to mold us and be echad with him. Now, how does the Creator of all things feel about us eating things from the waters which were not meant for food? Oh, there's a consequence, like if we eat catfish or we eat shrimp, lobster, things like that, clams, and so on. Let's see what he says about us eating things from waters which were not meant for food. How does he feel about that? What's he think about that? I have let myself be inquired of, not by those who asked. I was found, not by those who sought me. I said, here I am, to a nation not calling on my name. I have held out my hands all day long to a stubborn people who walk in a way that is not good, after their own thoughts. After their own thoughts, right? Lean not on your own understanding, after their own thoughts, right? Okay. The people who provoke me continually to my face, who slaughter in gardens and burn incense on slaughter places of brick, who sit among the burial sites and spend the night in the secret places, who eat flesh of pigs, and the broth of unclean meat is in their pots. Who says, keep to yourself, do not come near me, for I am set apart to you. These are smoke in my nostrils, a fire that burns all day. Isaiah 65, 1 through 5. See, ladies and gentlemen, this is a picture of the people who believe they have a right standing before Yahweh and can do and eat whatever they please. Yahweh says they are smoke in his nostrils. Does that sound like something pleasing to you? Like I said, remember when I said when our friend invited us to that church, eat whatever I want to eat, done away, eating the spirit, you know. What can I tell you? Why would anyone who says that he loves the element of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, ever want to be involved with anything that he says is sheketz, filthy? Like the animals of the earth, Yahweh says that those things that live in the water, which are good for food, also have due distinguishing characteristics. It says in Leviticus 11:9, Leviticus 11:9, these you do eat, of all that are in the waters, any one that has fins and scales in the waters, in the seas, or in the rivers, that you do eat. Fins and scales, ladies and gentlemen. He's very specific what he says. Well, what about shellfish, crabs, and lobsters? Shellfish, such as a crab and lobster, do not have fins or scales, do they? And are therefore prohibited for human consumption according to Leviticus 11:9. Plain and simple, you can't eat it. He says you can't eat it. Crabs, shrimp, and lobsters all feed off dead and decaying matter. They're scavengers, ladies and gentlemen, like the pig is, and like the catfish is. They were not intended to be eaten by human beings. Lobsters are nocturnal bottom walkers and scavengers that scavenge for dead animals and debris on the ocean floor. They are like the vultures of the oceans. They have even been seen burying dead fish and digging them up a little at a time to eat. Crabs will eat just about anything and are known as professional garbage hunters. Now, according to the FDA, Raw oysters, mussels, and clams are responsible for 85% of all illnesses caused by eating seafood. What was that? According to FDA, is what? 85% of all the illnesses by eating this. Disobedience to Yahweh's food laws. There's consequences, ladies and gentlemen. There's blessings and there's curses. The problems that are often linked to selfish consumption: hepatitis A, salmonella, Norwalk virus, cholera. Paralytic selfish poisoning, primarily associated with, is mussels, clams, oysters, and scallops. Wow! Oh, yum! Do you want to be disobedient to Him? That's your choice. There's a curse, though, and there's a consequences to any disobedience of the Torah. I'm just talking about one of them right now, and this is the food laws, okay? But there's others as well, okay? Now you have to ask yourself, once you really understand the role that these creatures play in their natural habitat, do you still want to eat them? Eating scavengers and filter feeders is kind of like eating whatever is in your vacuum cleaner bag or septic tank. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. I talked to people about these food laws. I talked to them, I'm getting a little more detailed with it here in this teaching, but I've talked to some basic stuff of diseases and all that, like the swine flu and so forth. That ain't going to happen to me, so what? I'll be fine, I'll cook it thoroughly, whatever rationale they want to give, okay? Bottom line is, even if all these illnesses and diseases weren't associated with it, even if you didn't know that, when the Father says don't eat it, don't eat it. When He says you can eat clean food, here's the food you can eat, eat it. Even if you don't know the background of the unclean foods, the consequences of it, what they entail with the illnesses and sickness and heart disease with the pig. Even if you didn't know that, bottom line is, He said don't eat it. Plain and simple. He's shown us what we can eat, the clean foods we can eat. Okay? We've got to trust in Him. He knows everything. If we don't know things and we don't understand it, we got to trust in Him. And knows He has our best interest at heart. Because goodness gracious, like I said before, and like the Word says, don't lean on your own understanding. You're going to mess it up. We all have messed it up because we've all fallen short of the glory. And like I said, it's a constant work. It's not once saved, always saved. It's those who endure to the end are saved. Like I said earlier. Now, so do you want a closer walk with Yahweh? Okay. As we learn and begin to walk in Yahweh's love, we remove the stumbling blocks and barriers that interfere and weaken our connection with the Creator. The stumbling blocks is our own manifesting and doing, okay? We create those stumbling blocks. Okay? We create those stumbling blocks. We only, they say, oh, the devil made me do it. No. He can put stuff out there and tempt you. We make a choice. We put the stumbling blocks on ourselves. So that's why we got to pray all the time. Put a hedge around us. Put that full armor of Yahweh on us for that protection, a hedge of protection every day, because the enemy ain't going to quit, but neither is Yahweh. And if we get that hedge of protection around us, we'll get strong each and every day. The more we study, meditate, and pray on His Word, our eyes will be open more and more, and we'll get stronger and stronger. He'll help us with our weaknesses and strengthen us. And with our strength, He'll make us even stronger. And it's a process. It's a lifetime process. It's a forever process till the end, ladies and gentlemen. While at the same time we are more fully manifest His image in the world. And it isn't that what our job in this life is to be. Manifesting Yahweh's image and kingdom on the earth for all to see. We are to be His light shining in the darkness. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Yahweh and keep His commandments. For Elohim will bring every work into judgment, including every secret thing, whether good or evil. Ecclesiastes 12, 13 and 14. When we fail to make these distinctions and in transgression of all statutes and judgments and commandments, we become tameh, unclean to him. We're filthy. By failing to keep the Torah, whether by adding to its teachings or subtracting from them, or merely failing to live by them, we manifest a distorted image of Yahweh in the earth. Saying we are his and failing to keep his ways is taking his name in vain, and that has very serious consequences. For if we sin willfully, after we have received the knowledge of the truth, there no longer remains a slaughter for sins, but a certain fearful expectations of judgment, and fiery indignation which will devour the adversaries. Anyone who has rejected Mosheh's law dies without mercy on the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. Of how much worse punishment do you suppose will he be thought worthy who has trampled Israel's seed underfoot, counted the blood of the covenant by which he was sanctified a common thing, and insulted the Spirit of grace? For we know him who said, "Vengeance is mine, I will repay, says Yahweh." And again, Yahweh will judge his people. It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living Elohim. Hebrews 10, 26 through 31. Now, at the end of that, it said Yahweh will judge his people. Did you know, and I have a teaching that I'm going to do really soon that I've just about finished. Many leaders will tell you in the secular world, opposite of Torah, that you can't judge. And they, like I said again, they will hit that one verse, "Thou shalt not judge." Boom, can't judge. I will prove to you in that teaching, you can judge. As long as it's righteous judgment, we can judge. If it's hypocritical judgment, no. Then you're a hypocrite. But if it's righteous judgment, yes, we can judge. But that's for another teaching. Let's continue. When we fail to keep the Torah, we are guilty of distorting and desecrating the image of Yahweh in the eyes of the world. And like I said, he's like the potter and we're like the clay. He's trying to mold us. We're not of this world. If we were of this world, the world would love us. But because we're not of this world and we're of the Torah, his image, and following his word, the world will hate us. Okay? In order to know Yahweh and have his blessings on our life, we must learn to follow him wholly. A great start in doing so is to make the distinctions between the realm of Ta'or and that of Tameh, and understand what Yahweh calls clean foods. Yahweh's image is not to be associated with death and dying. As I see it, the animals that Yahweh says are not food are those which, for the most part, clean up the earth and the seas. They live off the death of other animals and the decay that has fallen to the earth. What do you see when you drive down the highway sometimes? You'll see vultures, a whole bunch of vultures gathered. They're taking death off. They're taking the carcass of the garbage. They clean like a garbage man takes the trash out. They take the trash out too. They clean it. Okay? The animals now, fish, birds, and insects that we are allowed to use as clean foods eat primarily living plants and not dead animals. By making a distinction between that which is food and that which is not, we learn to choose life. Am I correct? I call heaven and earth as witness today against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and cursing. Therefore choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live, that thou may love Yahweh, thy Elohim, that thou may obey his voice, and that thou may cling to him, for he is the life and the length of thy days, and that thou may dwell in the land which Yahweh swore to thy fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give them. Deuteronomy 30, 19 and 20. He set before you life and death, blessings and cursings. Ladies and gentlemen, he gives us a choice. Each and every one of us are going to be judged for what we did on this earth. We were disobedient and obedient. We're going to be judged. It's that simple. If we grasp this and endure to the end, if we can endure to the end, he says we'll be saved. It's your choice. It's my choice. What are we going to choose? Are we going to choose life? Are we going to choose death? Are we going to choose blessings? Are we going to choose curses? Are we going to choose Yahweh and the Torah? Or are we going to choose the dark forces and what they do? See, Adam and Hava made a choice. When the Father said you could eat from any tree except this tree of knowledge of good and evil, they made a choice. As long as they weren't eating from that tree, they had blessings. Yahweh was walking among them, talking to them, having a relationship with them in the garden. Made a choice. It's that simple, made a choice. Like each and every one of us, we make a choice. Choose everlasting life or everlasting death. Each and every one of us needs to decide, are we going to allow him to work in us and mold us in the way he wants us to be, in his image? Are we going to be echad, or are we going to be separated from him? And this life is short. Believe it or not, this life is really short. It seems long when you hear someone living 80, 90, 100 years. Well, let me tell you something. Even the word says it's like a twinkling of an eye. Let us pray. Glorified and sanctified be Yahweh's great name throughout the world, which he has created according to his will. May he establish his kingdom in your lifetime and during your days, and within the life of the entire house of Israel, speedily and soon. May his great name be blessed forever and to all eternity. Blessed and praised, glorified and exalted, extolled and honored, adored and lauded by the name of the Ruach HaKodesh, the set-apart Spirit. Blessed be he, beyond all the blessings and hymns, praises and consolations that are ever spoken in the world. May there be abundant shalom from heaven and life for us and for all Israel. He who creates shalom, peace, in his celestial heights, may he create peace for us and for all Israel. Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, Yahweh, our Elohim, King of the universe. Shalom Aleichem. Peace be with you. In Yeshua's great and mighty name. Amen.